Welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we discuss all things Pauper. I am your host, Teasdale, and this is my co-host, the illness in the ranks, Reese.
Hello.
Seems very fitting. I'm testing out the new intro. You know what I mean? I gotta spice it up a bit.
Sticking with the yo.
Sticking with the yo! So you'll have to let me know, guys, what you think about that. So, pal, what have you been up to? And please tell me, for the love of God, you have been playing Pauper.
I have. Firstly, I'll apologise because I'm not very well, and hence the illness in the ranks. So if I sound awful, I'm gonna blame that. But we're powering through.
Committed to the grind.
Yeah, I've been testing for the Northern Pauper Open, which we are going to this Saturday.
Sunday.
Hopefully, this Sunday. Sorry. Hopefully, I'm well. I'm sure I'll be fine. So that's been pretty good. I've played quite a few leagues. Well, a lot more leagues than I would normally play at the moment. But probably less than I used to play. As they're not a huge amount of fun. Like they're fine. Like they're not as bad as the challenges. I don't think they're a bit more varied. But yeah, essentially just playing against 5 different decks or a pile that is like tuned to try and beat one of those decks. A good example I've just had from a league I've literally just finished was a Terror deck that had gone Grixis, so it could play Cannonades and Fangs in the main, as well as loads of Blasts in the sideboard. It's like, fair enough. Obviously, all stuck together with the glue that is Lorien Revealed.
I was just about to say, was it all glued with Lorien Revealed?
Yeah.
Because, that fixes every problem you could possibly have.
But yeah, it's been fine. I've settled on the deck I'm taking. I would have probably audibled to it anyway, as it's sort of what I know most. But I did try a few other things. I tried Blue White Glitters. Spoiler, I'm not taking that. I wasn't very impressed by it at all. It's fine against exactly Terror, and then gets pretty much destroyed by everything else. Saying that, it's actually better against the Sticker mono red than it is against Kuldoffer, because Kuldoffer's just cut. Sticker has cut loads of removal for obviously the Sticker and the draw package, which means decks like Glitters are just miles better against it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm pretty settled now.
Tom?
I don't know how much testing you've been doing, if any.
I have done quite a bit of testing, actually. Usually, normally when I go to events, as Reese will attest, I have a deck in mind. I test with it, either in paper or on Magic Online. Nowadays, it's mainly Magic Online. And then I get to the last day or the day before, and I go, Reese, I've seen a deck. I have seen a deck, and I want to play it. So then last time, I played Adaptor's Green-White Initiative, was it? Something like that? Yeah. I played Adaptor's Green-White Initiative. Played 0 games with it. And
scrambled for all the cards the day before.
Yes. Was messaging people all at the local game store, like, I need these cards. I think I borrowed some cards off some guy in Leeds as well.
Yeah, you did.
Nylea's Disciples were hard to get a hold of. Yeah, but this time, I was going to take Gardens then, and I didn't. I got, like the dog out of Up, is how I remind myself. I'm just, like, talking, and I'm like, squirrel! And that squirrel is a deck. But this time I'm sticking to my guns and I'm playing Gardens. And I've tested quite a lot, to be fair, because I know Gardens quite well anyways. I've tested 2 different versions of the list. Like, I've tested the non-defile, I've tested the defile list. I've come to a conclusion on my list, bar, like, 3 cards now. Note to self and note to everyone else. Do not submit Lembas unless you already have 4 Wellsprings. That is my advice. And the thing that surprised me as well, I actually played with games that I didn't record. So I have 2 videos coming out now. I've just had 1 come out with Gardens. I've got another 2 coming out. And I've also played another 4 leagues off camera. which is very unlike me in nowadays. Usually, I just even if I've never played a deck and I think this looks cool as hell, I'm like, let's jam it, let's record, and let's watch everyone laugh at me as I make everything terribly, play it wrong, do everything. But yeah, I have actually played quite a bit. Not really anything exciting either, unfortunately. I've got probably the best thing I can get is I've got like a 4th copy of Avenging Hunter in the sideboard, just in case anyone needs to know. But yeah, that's kind of it. That's about as exciting spiciness as it comes. Gardens is fun. I know the deck inside out, to be fair.
It does seem very well positioned at the moment as well.
Yeah.
Especially if you're expecting a lot of like this, like glitters and terror. You seem to be not in the worst spot with like your piles and piles and piles of removal.
Yeah. It's definitely not the funnest to play against, but it's fun as hell to play. But yeah, I guess the exciting bit about my list is no snuff out, but that's secret sauce tech, honest. Maybe I'm lying to you all just so you can all not play around snuff out and I get yous, but yeah, it's definitely a fun one. Really been enjoying Gardens, and that's pretty much all I've been doing this week is just no Lorcana, no what else? I don't even know what else. Whatever we normally do. I haven't even wrote this week actually. I've done 0 writing because I've been so hard on testing.
See? You should be well prepared then. We expect it to come first.
Nah, that won't happen. I'll miss playing and I'll do something wrong like I always do. And yeah. And then I'll come like 5th at best.
That hot take. Teasdale will come 5th at the Northern Pauper Open. Should we check back on that next week?
Yes. Oh, maybe we should. Predict our positions. I think we should do that. And at the end, we are going to predict our positions. We've decided this.
It sounds like a bad idea.
Funny. Let's do it.
Recipe for disaster.
What's the worst that can happen? So, guys, we will move on to some news. Tournament news-wise, as we've already discussed, it is the Northern Pauper Open this weekend. There is no point in selling yourself of pre-sale tickets, or there's no point in selling early bird tickets or whatever, because it is sold out. This event is gonna be stacked, and I'm super hyped for it. Sorry, ears warning, but yeah, definitely, it's just whoo. I am so hyped for this event.
It should be a great event. Obviously, we've said many a time, like the last 2 we've been to have been fantastic. And obviously getting to the 64 player cap is super big. It sort of leans towards the next one trying to go bigger. Obviously that's for Dan and Geek Street to decide what they're going to do, because obviously the venue at that point is not big enough. But always good to see Pauper growing and expanding.
Yes, I agree. I feel like I can't hold my own water. I want to all I will say is there is plans for bigger events, and it to not be in Leeds.
As long as it's more northern, that's fine. Damn.
I'm annoyed at the location, but
we'll still go anywhere.
We will, but still, it's gonna. I'm hoping this is why I'm excited about it being capped, is the fact that it leads to the potential for what they already have planned of much bigger events, and I'm really excited.
Yeah.
So, I'm looking forward to it. I really can't wait.
Every other format gets the big events. It's our turn now.
Yeah, definitely. And the other news is Core Pauper is this weekend. So if you guys did not see, I will put the Twitter or the X link in the description. GN42 is hosting a Core Pauper event this weekend. I believe it's Saturday at like 5 p.m. PST, I think, or something along them. I think it works out. It's like, I think it's 5 p.m. our time actually, and it might be like 10 a.m. PST. I actually don't really know, but I was looking to attend this event, but we're both otherwise engaged, and also we have to get up super early the day later for Northern Pauper Open. So it's just
it looks really good. Basically, like Teasdale just said there, both of us were gonna play. If it was either last weekend or next weekend, it's just fallen on unfortunate time for us. But you should definitely play. Yeah. The prizes look mega, and it's free.
Yes.
So why would you not play?
Yeah, and it's just I'm just really excited to see what happens. As much as I expect FAMS to basically just carry away with it, because basically loses 2 ephemerates,
Mm.
affect it roughly. And you'll be surprised how many things like you take for granted, like Chainer's Edict's not legal, Cast Down's not legal. Yeah, I'm just surprised at all.
Mm.
Obviously, the things that you don't think about. Oh, that's not legal. Oh, that's not legal. Because for those that don't know, Core Pauper is basically no supplementary products. So no Vintage Masters, no Modern Horizons, no bridges, no Monastery Swiftspear.
I want to see what the affinity decks look like.
Yeah.
Bring back Ato.
So I'm pretty excited to see what the turn like the actual top 8 is, and I wish everyone luck and congrats for our GM for obviously hosting. This is going to be a really good event. You can check him out on Twitch for the event. He is doing some commentary on there, so I recommend checking that out. Be pretty sweet. Anyways, that is enough of that. Let's check out actual Pauper, not pure, not core Pauper, whatever you want to call it. 30th of September, Saturday challenge. Let's go.
Yeah. It wasn't the most dominated challenge. I'm going to start with that. So it's actually not the worst one to talk about. First place was Sticker Red, piloted by Bako again, which is that 4 in a row or 5 in a row challenges is one.
4 in a row.
A
machine.
Which is pretty mega, and with different decks. Obviously the 2 last week were with Mono Blue Terror.
Yeah, I think 3. The last 3 were Mono Blue Terror. Yeah, this one was just proving a point.
Yeah. Second place was Colgate. Third and fourth was Elves, getting up there again, and a Mono Blue Terror. And then 5th through 8th was Heroic, Cascade Walls, Ponza, and another Mono Blue Terror. And then the 2 near misses were a Glitters. I'm assuming blue white Glitters.
Yes.
And then 10th was Green Black Gardens. So a bit more mixed up than we're used to. Obviously, you're still seeing the main players there with Terror, double Terror, and Sticker Red. But yeah, it's good to see obviously Elves and Heroic getting in there as well as Cascade Walls. Obviously the change of Mono Red to this Sticker Red variant and removing like stacks of removal essentially, like your Gal Blast and your Lava Darts makes the Walls deck, the Heroic deck, and the Elves deck a lot better in that matchup. Which I can see being a big reason why those show up, as well as having decent matchups against the likes of Mono Blue Terror. But yeah, it's nice to see stuff like Heroic doing well and Cascade Walls. It's a pretty fun deck.
Shout out to Kirby for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, just reiterating obviously what yourself said there. Basically, it's nice to see Elves, nice to see Heroic for sure. Ponza making a return. Not so excited about that, not gonna lie. But still sweet to see variations of different decks. And Cascade Walls is just super fun. I really like the look of that. Like, don't get me wrong, it's just fun.
Yeah, it's fun to play. Obviously, it is an Avenging Hunter deck, and it does lean into the Avenging Hunter pretty hard as one of its better bombs, but it's nice to see something different. Obviously, Ponza's always just there on the fringes. He never seems to die. No matter what the meta is, it changes like 3 or 4 cards and then just continues rolling on.
Yeah, and I think just to note, the Glitters deck that came 9th was Ocean Soul, who won a few weeks back with Blue White Glitters, and I think it's looking at it, it's like pretty much the exact same list. So there's no adaptation, no like blacksmith skills or whatever that people have been playing or all like that. Just straight old Blue White Glitters, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
Also, another quick one to mention is the 10th place Gardens list was Weber. Got to keep pointing him out.
Yeah.
He ran Bone Picker.
I was just about to mention that as well.
And Shambling Gast. I did message him for some insight. What he thought about Fumes. It was more for my testing purposes, I'm not gonna lie to you. But yeah, he like had Fumes in the main. Down to 1 Crit Rats. I asked him how Bone Picker felt. And he ran it back on the Sunday as well. But he's in agreement with me. He hates Crit Rats. I hate that card. I feel like it's a necessary evil, unfortunately, but I really do hate that card.
Yeah. I don't hate the Shambling Ghast either. It seems like a decent value guy. Obviously there's a lot of X1s at the moment.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing on board, you just make a treasure. Worst case,
Mm.
if you get double treasures out of your Deadly
Deadly
Dispute,
Dispute.
it's not the worst.
Speedy ramp
Yeah.
for your Avenging Hunters.
I guess to touch on the numbers as we have been doing, it was pretty much what we've been seeing the past few weeks. In the top 32, 6 of the decks were Swift Spears, 11 were Terror decks, 2 Enforcer decks, which is pretty low, 3 Avenging Hunter decks, and 4 Basilisk Gates. So 26 out of 32. So 6 outliers, which is pretty much bang on what we've been seeing. Slightly towards the higher end, I think the lowest we were seeing was 3. But yeah, the 2 Enforcer decks is extremely low. But as we were saying last week, they don't seem the best positioned out of the 5 at the moment, so it sort of makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I guess the other note obviously is overall in the actual challenges. You guys, if you're obviously up to date in the pauper scene, you may have seen like Callie tweet this out that 44% of the meta was either Mono Blue Terror or Burn, which worked out like 19 pilots in total. I think
it is a lot, that
12 of them were Mono Blue and 7 of them were some sort of red deck.
Yeah.
But there we go.
It sort of boils it when it's getting close to that 50%. It's like, well, half your games in your challenge are going to be against either Mono Red or Terror.
Yeah.
So it skews the deck so much.
Definitely.
On the topic of skewing the decks,
here we go.
A fun one for you.
Go on then.
How many Hydra Blasts and Blue Elemental Blasts total do you think was in the top 32?
Just for reference, by the way, as well, before we dive right, look, hands are here for those on YouTube.
It'll take a while to count them.
Ollie has wrote down here is secret numbers for me, so I have no idea. I'm gonna go on, so in the top 32.
Yeah, just the top 32.
Can I at least look at what numbers you've wrote for how many terrors and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah.
Right, so we have 11
terrors,
11 terrors, 2 Mer Enforcers, and 4 Basilisk Gates. So, did you say just Hydros and Blue Metal Blasts, yeah?
Yeah.
So, I would assume those were all on 4 copies. So, you're on 17, so 17 4s would be what I would say. So, what's that? 40, 50, I don't know, I want to say, I can't even mental maths right now. 47 4s are 28, 68. Sub 7, about 68, let's say. How far out am I?
The actual number was 118.
Jesus! Woo!
The average per deck of the top 32 was like 4.1 per deck, so every deck on average would have 4 blue blasts in the sideboard.
Wow.
So yeah, it's obviously a huge amount.
Yes, that's a lot of Blue Metal Blasts for sure.
I was gonna do Pyros instead as well, but I got bored of counting all the Blue Elemental Blasts, so I just left it at that.
Well, to be fair, that leads us quite nicely into Sunday's challenge. If you have anything else to mention.
No, that's it for that.
So Sunday, the 1st of October. Do you want me to go through it?
Yeah, go for it.
So Sunday, the 1st of October, first place. This was a split finals. So first place was White Weenie. Second place was Corgate, piloted by GN. Third and fourth place was Corgate, and I want to say Jeskai Glitters, but it's more like Boros Glitters with Thoughtcast. 5th to 8th was another White Weenie, a Mugworts or a Goblin combo deck, and 2 copies of Corgate. 9th and 10th, which if you are following from home from what our hot takes were last week, 9th and 10th was Grixis Affinity, both copies, which is really annoying for me. But, so, I guess to touch on this is why it leads on quite nicely, is the second place deck was piloted by GN. He played Corgate, and he played 15 blasts in his sideboard. So the full 8 copies of Hydroblast and Blue Elemental Blast, and 7 copies of Red Elemental Blast and Pyroblast.
Yeah, yeah.
I am curious, Jane, why did you go 4-3 in terms of Pyroblast and Red Elemental Blast? Why only 3 Pyros? Was it ticks?
It's more expensive.
Is that the reason? Just curious. It really matters. Yeah.
I'm sort of wishing I'd done the blast count for Sunday as well. I haven't done it for this one.
My first thing that stands out to me is congrats on the White Weenie. White Weenie's
Yeah.
repping really hard and it's doing really well. Same with Heroic. White's surprisingly an underdog. And my second point is congrats to Hamuda for this return of Mogwarts, especially with the Rowan's Grim Search. It was one of the first when Wildsville Drain came out, and I recorded my first league, and I think I recorded my first Deck Doctor, and I versed Callie playing Ultratron on Rowan's Grim Search. I basically was like, oh my god, this card is cool. And then I put it in Gardens, and then the next thing I did was put it in Mogwarts, and I played a league with it and recorded it, but I played it so badly that I didn't put it live. I was like, this deck needs to go. And I'm so glad that I was thinking, this card's bad in this deck. But turns out you just actually need Hamuda who can actually play the deck.
Yeah, I think Mogwarts as well is another one of those decks that benefits from the red decks going to the sticker variant. When they're cutting 4 Galv Blasts, a couple Lava Darts, and like a Chain Lightning, your combo gets a lot easier to assemble. So it's definitely primed. If red stays that way, it's definitely primed to do better, like week in, week out, really.
Yeah, definitely. Like Lava Dart was a surprising big problem for the deck. Obviously, comes back as a 1/1. Future Goblin, obviously Skirk Prospector as a 1/1. There's a lot of 1/1s in that deck. Even your 2/2s are basically 1/1s at some point.
Obviously the first state of class being triggers as well means you can snipe them all before they get bigger. So it works really well. But obviously cutting that improves the matchup massively.
Yeah.
As well as the 4 Gal Blast, just 4 less instant speed removal spells. But I think this challenge in particular shows sort of what we've been saying for the past few weeks about Corgate being really well suited and sort of being in the same tier as the other 4 decks. Just completely dominated. And Grixis Affinity as well, like you touched on. It sort of feels like it has, or Affinity in general, had a similar issue to the Ren's Resolve issue that Mono Red faced, like, 3-4 months ago, whatever it was, 5 months ago. Probably longer than that now, actually. Where they got so many tools at once with the additional 4 Ren's Resolves that looked like they would be really good in the deck. So everyone just jammed them in, and then the deck was just miles worse and took ages for people to figure out, we actually want 5 of these, not 8. And All That Glitters sort of feels the same to me, but in an affinity spin where All That Glitters looks really good. So everyone's just audible to All That Glitters and a Jam and Blue White Glitters and Jeskai or Boris Glitters. Whereas if you just ignore it, Grixis Affinity is probably just still the affinity deck to be on, or still the Mer Enforcer deck to be on. All That Glitters sort of seems like a bit of a trap.
Yeah, I can definitely get behind that. And I believe we were talking about this last week, where Grixis Affinity is a solid deck, and it's just the new shiny hotness of all that glitters and things like that. I do definitely agree. Like Grixis Affinity is, to me, is still the affinity deck. It's just the shiny new toy needs to be less shiny.
Yeah, I think even the sticker Goblin is the same. Although it is different in Modo because it's like miles better than it is in paper. But that deck it doesn't perform very well at all in paper compared to Kuldoffer. It's just not consistent enough. Yeah. Obviously, you've got the wins and the top 8s the past few weeks, but it's like one copy in each top 8.
Yeah,
it's the copy that ran really well or has a super good pilot, like Bako.
Yeah.
Whereas if everyone just switched back to Kuldoffer, you're probably getting like 3 in the top 8 rather than 1.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I definitely tend to agree.
Mm,
It's nice to see that there is people realizing that Grixis Affinity is well positioned enough to actually deal with the red side like it always was, and also can deal with Terra, and it's
yeah,
probably just the better Mirror Enforcer deck than Blue White.
yeah.
So I'd like to, hopefully, my hot take that we did cover last week will be come true next week, I think.
Yeah, I think a big part of it obviously is Crackland Jamming is just still a massive house.
Yeah,
Especially in the meta that we're seeing develop.
for sure. Uh,
Um, Numbers wise, I guess,
yeah,
just before we move on. Again, pretty similar to the Saturday. 5 Swift Speed X, 7 Terror decks, so slightly down. 5 Mary Forcer decks, so slightly up, but with a couple of them being Grixis. 3 Vengeance Hunter decks and 5 Basilisk Gate decks, so 25 out of 32.
mm,
So 7 outliers, so slightly above normal. I think our basically average is about 5.
yeah.
So yeah, slightly above, but nothing groundbreaking really in the top 32.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that basically as well, 2 Grixis Affinities just missed out, and there was only 3 Grixis Affinity pilots in the entire thing.
Mm.
Which again, we are quite used to from Grixis Affinity of old, that was kind of the case. You know, when it was starting to downtrend, you were looking at like 4 or 5 pilots, and 3 of them would make their way in the top 16. I guess one thing I just want to touch on is the Jeskai Glitters deck. I guess, and this is probably the only thing that's like an outlier to obviously what you were saying about the Mirror Enforcer kind of strategy of things. I do think Boros probably does lend itself surprisingly well to all that glitters.
Yeah, a lot more than the others. Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
I would agree there.
and I think it's just needs people to obviously have that in mind, because unfortunately I don't think it gets that much brewing or development space. Like there's probably what been 3, I would say, off the top of my head, Boros All That Glitters lists in top 32s since All That Glitters has been out, and I think it doesn't get the credit it deserves, because I do think it is a card that can just, the deck in general, especially this one that you see here, is a core Skyfisher Glinthawk experimental synthesizer engine that can outgrind you by just playing the normal Boros synth strategy,
Mm.
and then just gets you with an All That Glitters as well, which really does lend itself. And it literally splashes blue for 6 main board cards, being 4 Forecast and 2 Kenkus, which seems very solid.
Yeah, I think that though is sort of the issue that why Boros doesn't get as much of a look in, because Thoughtcast's such a big draw.
Yeah.
Um, that it sort of forces you to play blue, and then when you're playing blue, do you really want to play it with the Boros shell?
Mm.
Obviously this one has, it's got a bit of a sketchy mana base to enable that. Um, but I could definitely see just cutting the 6 blue cards and going harder into the Boros. You lose the Hydroblast in the sideboard, but you're not the worst at fighting red anyway. If you start having like Thrabans or something in your main deck and additional other sideboard cards, you can probably show that matchup a bit.
Yeah, definitely. I think Boros can really outgrind the whole Hydroblast side of things as well. So, but I think what it does actually struggle against is the Dust to Dust side of things.
Yeah,
And I think Boros, like with this sort of engine, like the Core Skyfisher engine, can with time beat one or the other if it is a slower deck. But I think this sort of build really does lend itself to kind of attack the metagame in the right way. Obviously, Dust to Dust are on a low. Casting the Fires again, I'd say trending down generally to an extent. And then obviously you've only got the Hydroblast to contend with, which there's a lot of them. Don't get me wrong, but you can definitely beat those, I think. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting way to take All Gliz, and I do think it needs a little bit more love than it actually gets at the minute, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that's it for me for Sunday.
Yeah, I've got no real other comments on that.
So just some quick shout outs. Mate, we've already covered quite a lot of them, to be fair, but again, congrats to Bako. I am under the impression that we are saying his name wrong, but nobody has told me how to say it. I feel like it's like a Beso, like obviously I can't say the rest of it because I don't know how it's spelled, but I do apologize. Um, but you will be called Bako to me. I'm sorry. But congrats.
Unless you tell us how to actually
Yeah,
say it.
unless you tell us how I actually seen him, obviously, because that'd be just rude. Um, but yeah, congrats to Bako, obviously winning 4 challenges on the belt. They won both last weekend, the Sunday the week before, and the Saturday this weekend. Just to clarify. Yeah, incredible feat. We believe it's not been done before, but no one's really fact checked this.
No.
So, but people will be keeping an eye on it now. You've put it on the map. That is
Yeah,
for sure.
definitely.
Again, congrats to Kirby for top 8 on the Saturday. They were playing Cascade Walls. I am almost certain that will definitely be on his channel at some point. And I definitely recommend you should check that out. He's really entertaining and really insightful. So, highly recommend. And again, shout out to Weber as well for obviously top 10ing with Gardens as well. And an interesting version of Gardens nonetheless. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep tearing up. And keep repping and doing good work on the PFP. Just please make a YouTube video and tell us. Get Gavin. Get Gavin. Go on. That will be clear very shortly of why, but please do. And finally, shout out to Jane for obviously doing this. Not only the core pauper. I'm always getting which way around they're calling it now. Core pauper. Congrats on doing that. Like, really do keep pushing it. It's really great to see these different type of content. It's like obviously people have done no ban lists before, and it's really great to see like a different takes on it. Especially when a lot of content creators out there are being negative and have issues with the format, which obviously it's still fine. People are not allowed to struggle with the format and stuff, but it's great that you can make new, refreshing content and bring the community together as well. It's just a shame, obviously, we can't be there.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, congrats on the second place or top split finals with that sideboard.
I think the core pauper as well is sort of a more interesting one than people normally do, because obviously pauper, when it was established, was sort of a rider format, if you like, where ads from Magic Online were just like, oh well, these are legal because the comments here. So it sort of makes sense that you would just be like, oh well, it's just stuff that was printed as a comment in a main set. Like it's on a similar vein. So yeah, I can see it being something that's worth picking up. Hopefully it does take off.
Yeah.
It would probably solve a lot of the issues people have with pauper.
Yeah.
Especially when we were speaking to Weber, and he basically said that the solution is for more cards to be printed. I guess the reverse of that is the solution is to be let more cards to be unprinted.
Yeah.
Which sort of does.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely sweet, and I am genuinely really looking forward to see the results. And I will be, even though I am otherwise engaged, I will be staring at my phone, checking out the stream, as everybody else should be as well.
I want to see the which one drop Kuldotha replaces for Swift Spear.
So yeah, guys, let's move on to our hot takes from last week.
Yeah. My first one was that regular Kuldotha will be back on form. Obviously, not happened this week. It's a really downer week for red in the top 8. Like we previously mentioned, I think stickers have a lot to do with that.
Too many blasts.
Yeah, and the absolute pile of hydroblasts.
Yes.
But I do think this will happen at some point. I think people will see that the sticker thing is fine. It's like its own thing. Like the 1-drop red deck is its own thing, and the Ping and Burn deck is its own thing. But regular Kuldotha just still has that power and is more consistent.
Yeah, I think to be fair, these hot takes, the serious hot takes, I think generally the ones that we've done, my next one's not that serious. They are probably, I'd say, a week or two ahead of themselves. Like I think as much as we're used to, obviously Magic Online moving at a ridiculously fast pace in how things develop, I do think that the actual metagame takes that little bit longer than we give credit for.
Yeah, definitely.
And we do get kind of glimpses of them. like regular Kuldotha will probably make a return in the next couple of weeks, I would say, in a full like be back on top form as well. When people stop playing stickers and realize all these blasts are making the sticker goblin be a time walk for themselves and all this sort of stuff. Um, and I do think we will probably see it back in top form in a couple of weeks once people have realised that. My next one is Black White Ephemerate will make a return. I'm not even lying yet. I didn't even check. I literally just assumed it wasn't there.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it probably wasn't.
Yeah.
Although I did play against Pestilence in a league like last week.
That is, I believe
which was pretty
that's
horrendous.
that was Probozo, right? On
Yeah,
his
yeah,
pestilence pile, which is the
yeah,
most. Which, if people didn't see, he literally said, if you want to beat the 3 top decks, this is it. If you want to beat anything else, you will struggle because it'll do nothing but kill everything.
yeah. I was playing Glitters, and it was not fun for me. He
Yeah.
basically just killed everything I ever played.
Yep.
And then pinged me to death with the Pestilence.
The just numbers were just great. There was like one Goliath paladin. I was like,
Yeah.
this is it. This is what I'm here for. Yeah, but that's it. Obviously, Black White did
Yes.
not make a return.
No. So my second one from last week was that we'll see more White Weenie, Hand, or Heroic decks getting up in the top 8, which obviously we have. Both days, there was 2 White Weenies on the Sunday, and obviously the Heroic on the Saturday. Yeah, both decks seem very well positioned. White Weenie especially, Heroic, obviously more so since the red decks are cutting again, bunch of Galblasts and Lavadats. So yeah, I imagine this trend will continue until sort of Kuldotha comes back, and then it makes the heroic deck a bit worse. But White Weenie just seems to be decent against most things, surprisingly.
Strands carries hard.
Yeah, and chumpers for days
Yes.
against the Terror decks.
Yeah. But it's definitely solid lists. Hopefully they keep coming back. I'd really like to see them. It's always good.
Yeah.
Always good for the Gardens play too. My last one was Grixis Affinity will make a top 8 return, which, as you know, I was so close, so close.
9th and 10th. Yeah, I think we can give you that one, to be fair.
Yeah, that's literally breakers at that point. To be fair,
yeah, especially with 2 of them as well.
Yeah, that was just a rub in the face. As soon as I seen the 9th and 10th, I was like, God damn it. Yeah. So that's it. That's the hot takes from last week. Do you want to cover the hot takes from next week?
Yeah. I've just filled these in now because I completely forgot to fill them in. I'm gonna run back my first one from last week that Kuldotha will come back on form basically. Just as you said, it takes a couple more weeks than we usually give it credit for. So hopefully next week it'll if people will realise and Kuldotha will be everywhere again, and then we can see how the top 32 is split between 50% Terra and 50% Mono Red.
They do. It's so crazy, the whole meta. Like, it's funny to see if you ever have access to this spreadsheet as well that shows you the challenge data. They literally just keep swapping as well.
Yeah.
It's like 44 and 34% or something stupid like this weekend, and they just swapped up which one was the top deck and which one wasn't. It's like red one day, Terra the other day. Mental. Yeah. My next one is GN's core gate list will become more of a mainstay. As much as it's a meme at the moment, and it was to prove a point, I do think it's not a bad shout, to be honest, because there's so much terror and so much red that, you know, you might as well run a 15 card sideboard and you can beat everything else anyways because you're core gate. And that basically leads on to it as well. It's kind of like a doubly thing that Sunday it'll become like core gate will become the third most represented deck.
I guess the only thing I can see happening with that is if your prediction for Grixis Affinity to sort of come back hard makes that sideboard look a lot worse.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But one of them's going to get caught with the pants on. It's either Grixis Affinity is not making a return or Colgate's going to be a mainstay.
I guess you can always trim a few blasts and put 4 Dusted Us in there as well.
Yeah.
My second one is that Fae will make somewhat of a return. I don't know if it'll top 8. I guess I'll say top 16, just to put a number on it. But I've played against a lot of fair in the leagues.
I
I'm
have
not really
too.
I'm not really sure why,
I did
but
too.
yeah, but people just don't want to let spell stutter sprite die. Again with the same thing we've been saying with sticker red. If people don't return to Cold Author, fair is a lot better against sticker red than it is against Cold Author.
I would
Um,
say two color fair's probably better against sticker as well. I don't know about
mhm.
mono blue too much, but
Well, just not them not having main deck lava darts
yeah,
and
yeah,
4
exactly,
instant
yeah,
speed
yeah,
removal spells obviously improves it.
yeah,
But yeah, I've played against I think 3 or 4 mono blues in 5 leagues,
yeah.
and a blue black as well, which is a lot more than I expected.
Yeah, I
I
was gonna say
expected like 1.
I don't think I've returned. I've versed a single mono blue, but I've probably
No.
versed 3 two color,
Mm.
which was really odd. I've versed 2 blue red and 1 blue black, I think, or maybe the other way around. Yeah, it's people just really like spell stutter sprite.
Yeah, yeah. Spell Stutter Sprite is still there. People won't let it die. They want everyone to be miserable again. So,
Whoever
so
it
yeah.
is that likes spell stutter sprites, you guys must be fun at pies. Really. Yeah, so my final one, it's usually Reese's for this, but I decided to take the mantle, to be fair. The PFP will comment on the heavy percentage of red and terror and have it as an issue. I don't think they'll take any action, but I think it's been leaning to this. Obviously, we've had Weber on who said that the red decks are an issue to him. Like, he doesn't, and then if you've been following Ullman's articles, he's been sort of bringing attention to the big representation of red and terror in challenges and like just generally. So that leads me to think that they will make an article, but then again, Gavin, Doctor Who, it's like he's a bit
It's a bit
tied up.
busy.
He's a bit tied up. So maybe not. Maybe I'm just being hopeful.
I always feel like this takes just an autofill. I feel like we've used it so many times and they've never commented. I think in the past 4 months we've probably said it like once every other episode or something. It's been a hot take, and there's been no comments.
Well, to be fair, the fact that we're that wrong, it has to be a hot take at some point.
Yeah.
So like the first time, it was like kind of like this is sort of a mid take. They are probably likely to comment. Nah, it's just this is a hot take now.
I'm not even sure at this point when the last comment was.
Was it March, April?
It feels very early in the year, doesn't it? But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure on that. But
Yeah, I'm not
anyway,
I'm not checking.
we'll see.
We'll see. We hope they do comment because we all always like to see what their thoughts are. That's why it was great to have Weber on. And
Yeah.
if anybody else from the PFP is listening, and want to be on, you can hit our DMs. Just to let you know.
We'll be nice, honest, and we'll let you read all the questions before we ask them.
Yes, we will never be horrible ever because you do great work and you're in a rock and a hard place. But yeah, it'd be great to have you on. Have your insight from your opinion and also your PP. You can even listen back to the bonus episode to find out exactly roughly how behaved we are. Anyways, that's enough of spieling. Are you ready to call it?
Yeah, that's it from me.
So, guys, if you have enjoyed this podcast, please do not forget to share it with your friends and your local pauper community. Word of mouth has actually given us a massive influx of new viewers, and it's fantastic to see. So please don't forget to tell all your friends, all your family, your sister you don't like, the sister you do like, the brother you don't like, the brother you do like, your local MP will do. Let them know. For Americans at home, that is the local government representative, like a mayor or a senator, I believe. I googled that.
I was going to say, have we got Wikipedia open here?
But yes, that is it from us, all at Cast and Commons. I hope you have enjoyed this week's episode. And until next time, don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace.
See ya.